And a good morning to you, or good afternoon, or good evening. I don't know exactly when you'll be looking at this, but I hope it's early in the morning because that's when I'm the freshest. And that's when I really look like I am. So excuse me as we go on, should I change my personality, but that's what God has given me the opportunity to do. And I just want to share some wonderful things. Because I understand we have some very, what you would call, educated people here who are going to ask me questions. And I'm going to try my best. I've already prayed, Lord, help me to answer these in a way that might add something to every life, to everybody that's watching this thing. So pay real good attention, because I might say something that you could really use in this business. The purpose, of course, of why we started was to impact every person that we touched. See, it wasn't about selling. It wasn't about product. Our whole focus from the beginning was on the person, okay? We had the best program. You can't understand what these other companies had compared to what we have. And that's where God gave me some things that I couldn't change there, that I changed here, that made Premier so different than any other company. And so as the time goes on, and you know, when we started out pretty small, and we'd have a rally, man, we'd have like 300 people at a rally, and we'd have a good time, but I used to pick up a lot of them at the airport. I had a hat, and I'd drive over there in a car and pick them up and bring them over. But the basic foundation that is still in after 28 years was a God thing. There's no other company in the world that I know that have the reasons we have. And then the last ones that I didn't even realize was changing lives. And that changed. And the next one is giving hope. But those we got, just unbelievable. And we weren't in business, were we, to set up budgets and make profits. But you can't make people in a business without them making profits. Now, I want them, whoever it might be, to remember that. They can't ever do enough for the people that they're going to be at their shows or in their downlines, than to ever change the reasons why we have Premier Designs. A unique basic foundation, and I don't think there's still yet anywhere in the world anything even close to it. But I came back from the Navy, and I'm now 20 or 21 years old, 21 I think, and what happened to me was I'd grown a lot, and I'd changed during my 3 years in that, and I came back kind of a different person, more interested in learning and studying. I never was interested in school or anything before. And so what happens there, and the things that developed there, and someday I'll write the story of it all, God started working on me. He started working on me. And of course, you know how Joan and I got together. She was not a believer, but she was a religious girl. And that was the secret of what God was going to do. My whole plan, I convinced with all my heart that Joan Taylor, and for me to meet Joan Taylor was a very miracle, because as you know, her father was a doctor, he was English. They have a little caste system of believing. My mom's the Irish scrubber. We're living in a little apartment over the dairy, and it wasn't a good situation for them. But she decided that she would do it, and God was in it, not only because she was a church-going gal. I mean, she went to the Episcopal Church. She loved it. She did everything there. Father Gagan was his daughter was her best lady in our marriage, and I never forget Father Gagan because he's Irish. And he said, Andy, my lad, you ought to be coming to concentrate. You ought to be coming to be confirmed. Oh, I said, Father, I really don't have the time. Well, let me tell you, you don't have to come to the classes. Just come on a Sunday and I'll confirm you. And I said, oh, thank you. Let me think about it, you know. For some reason, I don't know why, God would never let me, never did I go to ever be confirmed. See, I knew I had been born again. It was with me nearly every night I went to bed, but I wasn't living for the Christ. Joan wasn't a believer. Many times I prayed about that, and times. But how that all happened was because of that. My mother and I, who cleaned offices, had to have a vehicle because we couldn't carry the stuff. And my mother, when I'm 16, we get that vehicle. And that vehicle, I'm able to go down after we're done our work to the park where the baseball games are. And it's up in the center of Woodstock where more of the higher class people live. So when I got up there with my car, and the most amazing thing is I attracted a lot of people. And pretty soon now, instead of the East End gang I'm playing with, I'm now up in their crowd. And they're a nicer, wonderful crowd. And so I got to know them all, and I drove them around. And when Joan was dating my friend Bill for a long time, and I was dating her friend Shirley, we'd ride in the car, that car, and I would watch through the mirror. They're in the back seat. I would watch through the mirror how things were going, you know. And I started courting her there. Now, she never realized this because this is years before. And I started putting them back together when they fight, you know. And when she's sick, I took her candies. My friend Bill took her nothing. He didn't have a clue. And so that car got me to meet that gal in a most unusual way. And she was then going to lead me the rest of the way. Because when I finished my book, The Road to Premier, you're not going to believe. There's 37 things. God started with us. And everywhere I went, something happened that was going to impact what we're going to do in the future. It was a God thing from the very beginning. Here I have my Bible that I brought along. And I wanted you to understand that this was the book, this was the book that Joan and I decided would be our foundation. And it's the most amazing thing. There's not many books, even the famous ones, that you could get that could be 2,000 years old and still be exactly the same in the beginning as it was in the end. So everything that we tried to do was based on some of this book. We talked about giving. It tells us if you want to give, you can't give without getting. It tells us about serving. And you know that I'm the CSO, Chief Servant Officer. How did that happen? We're out in California in one of our January rallies, and I'm on the stage and I'm thinking, man, I ought to be a servant, not the COP or whatever it is. And so I make myself, while I'm on stage, I've got a new title. I'm now CSO, Chief Servant Officer. Well, when I come off the stage, Joan said to me, who promoted you? I said, I did. Well, that's great, isn't it? And I said, yeah, it is. It's great. Because I changed my cards. I give the card to the people, and they say, see it. What is that? Chief Sales Officer? I said, oh, no. Chief Servant. Well, where did you get it? I got it from the Bible. Well, may and so. And it says, if you want to be the chief of everybody, be the best servant of all. And this is the book that not only does that, but it talks about this giving. But most of all, it talks about the most magnetic thing in the world, and that is love. And if you can love people, you're going to magnetize them. They're going to follow you. They're going to love you. They're going to look you. And there's so many, many wonderful things in this book that have paid. For instance, I have another book here. And I have macular degeneration, so I can't read. And these are things that I try to memorize. And I want to show you what they're like. See how big that is? Now, I carry a lot of these with me, but I always have on the top 3 or 4 or 5 verses that I'd like to be able to share with you. But let me share one. The first one I want to share with you just happened at when Joan went to heaven. But it's a verse I want you to remember, and it's Isaiah 41:10. And what God says and what he said to me, that very moment I was with her when she went to heaven, it came to me. I never had thought of it or ever had it before. Fear not, it said, Andy. Fear not. For he says, don't be full of fear. Just remember that I'm going to uphold you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to do these things for you. And then at the very end, it's just an amazing story. Fear not, be not. Be not. Do you know what that word is, Randy?
Dismayed.
Yeah. Do you know what dismayed means? Because I was a dismayed person at many times. Discouraged. Don't give up. Just keep going. But these are the things that I read. Now, I take these with me out of my book. I take my best verses with me. And I have Jeremiah 29:11 because God says he's got a plan for me. And right now I'm praying, Lord, what is it? I'm very excited to find that out. And so I have these things, and I want you to understand that what we have built this company on has never changed. So you can depend on, maybe not the Horners, maybe not all of our sin, but you can depend on what God says. And if you will follow that, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Not only will you build a business and enrich lives, but your life, the plan that God has for you, he will reveal, like he did for Joan and I. Can you imagine coming from Ireland, going to Canada, from Canada to Boston, from Boston to Austin, from Austin to Dallas, just because of chance? I'm telling you, dear friends, when you get the rest of the story, it was a God thing. And what it did for Joan and I was to humble us, to really understand that people he loves you, and he'll continue to love you. And my prayer for you as you build your business is not that you'll make a ton of money. It's not that you're going to have an easy task. It's just that you will be faithful, and you will trust and believe what God has said. And I say it again. If you're willing to follow the principles of this book, and if you're willing to serve, if you're willing to give, if you're willing to love. Now, the secret of not getting those 3, it's the ability to give them. So God bless you, and I'm telling you, if you will work, and if you will listen and be trained, God will, I promise you, fulfill, and you'll have a successful business. God bless you. We love you. Thank you for all you will do. And we pray that God will watch over you and your family in the years ahead. The past is gone. The present is going. And the future is where you're headed. And I pray you look at it and see the sunshine over there and the opportunities. In today's world, the opportunities we have for people who are hurting, people who need that hope. So continue to trust, continue to serve, continue to love. You'll have a wonderful, wonderful few years ahead. Oh yes, you're going to do good, but I pray that you'll help others do more.